How I Destroyed My Boss's Life, a 20-year revenge saga, a story of betrayal, manipulation, and ultimate triumph. What begins as a small office lie turns into a revenge plot that spans 2 decades, unraveling the life of a toxic boss and leaving a trail of chaos in her wake. About 20 years ago, I was recruited by a CEO to join a company where we had worked together before. We were good friends. When his new company started facing a sales slump, he specifically recruited me to help turn things around. Unfortunately, the company didn't make a single sale in 2 years. The first year, the product was in beta, so selling it was premature. On top of that, they realized that using IT specialists to sell the product to top managers was the worst sales model imaginable. There are exceptions, but these two types of people, techies and salespeople, speak completely different languages. Techies talk in tech jargon, while salespeople focus on benefits and how the product will meet customers' needs. I, however, had the ability to translate technical language into something that clients could understand. The job was an hour-and-a-half drive from my home, so the CEO allowed me to work from home as long as I could manage to attend important meetings and send daily sales reports. Despite the convenience of working from home, I still drove to the office every day for the first month, spending 3 hours daily on the road. I wanted to build strong relationships with other departments, create a sales strategy, and earn the trust of the division leaders. I was ready to launch the strategy, but then something unexpected happened. A new VP of sales was hired. She was brought in just 4 days before I was supposed to hit the field. She came from a banking background with a lot of experience in sales and marketing financial products. And I hated her the moment I met her. She had no understanding of technology, and I spent a lot of time trying to bring her up to speed, time that would have been better spent focusing on the strategy. She was hired solely because of her experience in attracting investors. Regardless, I pressed on, traveled to the target state and spent 19 days there, crisscrossing it. When I returned, I had 17 signed contracts, worth around $2 million. The CEO was thrilled. 6 months passed, and things were going smoothly. I worked from home, the sales were coming in, and the CEO was happy. But then, that VP of sales did something that made everything spiral. She caught an investor willing to put $6 million into the company and insisted I attend a meeting because the investor insisted on meeting someone from sales in person. Just before we walked into the crucial meeting, she pulled me aside and told me we had to cover up a lie she'd already told. She had inflated my sales numbers by twice their actual value. I immediately told her I wouldn't be part of this. She insisted that the CEO knew and had approved it. At the meeting, the investor looked at the numbers and asked how many sales I was really making each month. I didn't flinch. I told him the truth.
The VP stood behind the investor, glaring at me.
But I was unbothered. I noticed the numbers had been swapped around and casually pointed out that the digits were just reversed. This turned out to be a perfect match for the real figures. The investor was satisfied, and the meeting continued. A week later, during a routine meeting with the CIO, he casually mentioned my big boobs. I was so caught off guard by how inappropriate and dumb it sounded that it took me a moment to process it. That night, I mentioned it to my best friend, a lawyer, who told me I should report it. I thought it best to address it with the VP first, as I reported directly to her. The next day, I told her what happened. She said she'd handle it and get back to me, but 2 days passed, and nothing happened. I insisted she take action, even mentioning that my lawyer friend had suggested it. The next day, she called me into her office. She was furious. I could tell she wasn't going to do anything about it, and she didn't even understand the gravity of the situation. Then I received an unexpected call from a lawyer hired by the company. They had apparently filed a harassment claim on my behalf. I was in shock. I explained it was a misunderstanding, but the company took a different stance. From that moment on, everything changed. The company turned against me, and my boss made my life hell. She stopped informing me of important meetings, ignored me when I visited the office, banned me from talking to the CIO, and even canceled my approved vacation. She did everything in her power to make my life miserable. I started experiencing serious health issues and ultimately required surgery. However, despite my medical condition, she insisted I come to the office every day, even though I had a doctor's note saying I could work from home. Then, just before my surgery, she called to say my health insurance had been canceled. I hung up, fainted from the shock, and had to be rushed to the hospital. The CEO tried to talk to me the next day, but it was clear they were trying to cover their tracks. After some legal pressure, my insurance was reinstated. During my time in the hospital, my mom found a lawyer who started digging into what the company was doing behind my back. It became clear that everything they had done was illegal. Companies are not allowed to retaliate against employees who report violations or harassment. My lawyer said I had a strong case, and the company's actions gave me everything I needed. When I returned to work, everything had changed. The company had moved to a new office, but my boss made sure to misdirect me, so I arrived late on my first day. They gave me a tiny desk in the middle of a large, empty room as my new office and forbade me from doing anything related to sales. They hired new people and treated me like I had the plague. Later, I learned that my boss had badmouthed me to the entire company. To cope, I began documenting everything they did to me. No detail was too small. Every time she gave me a warning for some ridiculous reason, I would write in my notebook that I didn't agree with it. This infuriated her. She would scream at me, but I kept calm. It drove her crazy. One day, I took things a step further. I knew she was snooping around in my desk, so I slipped a note into my bag that read, "Go to hell." It was a small victory, but it felt so good. As things got worse, I continued to document and filed every injustice in my notebook. Eventually, I had enough. With the help of my lawyer, I quit. A month later, I filed a complaint with the EEOC. The company, of course, tried to cover everything up, but I had all the evidence. The EEOC investigator was appalled by the company's actions, and she immediately saw how weak their case was. The company tried to bribe me into settling for $50,000, but I agreed. I walked away from the situation, feeling victorious. Months later, I found out that my former boss's company was still struggling. She was trying to rebuild, but kept facing internal chaos due to her own shady dealings. I couldn't help but smile, knowing that my revenge was complete. And even now, every year, I visit her company's website and sign her up for spam emails, just to remind her that the past will never let her go. This translation and emotional structuring is designed to capture the intensity and flow of the original story for voiceover purposes. The key emotional moments, such as frustration, triumph, and revenge, are highlighted, ensuring a strong narrative impact.